So in this video, we're going to talk about how to start a temporary recruitment agency, what's needed, why is it different from permanent, how you can easily scale it up, and also how it's highly profitable in a sense. So if you are thinking about starting a recruitment agency or implementing temporary recruitment into your existing agency, this video is going to be the one for you. I looked online to give me some idea if I'm missing anything before I record this video. There's literally no good information out there. I saw rubbish information even on the government website on temporary recruitment and what's needed. So I'm hoping this video is going to be a one-stop guide to actually starting an agency. Now, full disclosure, I've always been a permanent recruiter. I do the odd temporary. Do I have any workers out? No, I don't have any workers out now on a temporary basis. But I do it. I hate it. And I'll explain why afterwards. And I'll go through the pros and cons of it. So we'll get into the video. So what is a temporary agency? How is it different from permanent? So a temporary agency is, like the name says, it's a worker on a temporary basis. We either get paid hourly on top. So example, I place a care assistant or support worker into a position and they're working on £12 an hour. That's what the worker's getting. And the company's paying me £16, £18 per hour. I take out all the costs, I run all the payroll, and therefore my cut is, I don't know, it's £2.63 because there's national insurance, holiday pay, pension. We have to pay on behalf of the candidate, and obviously the holiday pay we have to keep ready for them. But I use an umbrella company, I use an accountant to run all that, which brings me to the next point, which is most companies in temporary recruitment, you will need an umbrella company. The reason being, and what an umbrella company is they factor the invoice, they receive the invoice from the client, they pay the worker. I'll give you an example in a second. And moving forward, you get your payment a few weeks later. So the worker is set to work Monday to Friday. They work Monday to Friday. On Friday, they get paid as a temporary worker. That's their weekly pay or bi-weekly pay, whatever. They get paid on Friday. So they're expecting £700 wages for that care assistant position. Now, I could easily pay that, no problem. Most people can easily pay that, most businesses. But if you've got 20 workers on Friday waiting to get paid, you can run into some serious cash flow problems and you'll just end up chasing, and it become your whole business is chasing invoices, making sure you've got enough cash in the bank to pay. So most agencies, regardless of size, tend to opt to use an umbrella company. And there's hundreds of them, there's thousands of them in fact, and they work with all different types of businesses. So what the umbrella company does, you sign the candidate up, register them with the umbrella company and also the client as well, prior to them starting work. So all the documents is with them. If you speak to them, they'll provide you with the documents. Now, what then happens is a client will pay the umbrella company 2 weeks later after that work has been paid on Friday. And after that, you'll get, the umbrella company will take a fee. So we're the ones paying the fee this time. Usually it's around 4, 5, 6%, depending on how much business you bring them. You can always negotiate later on. And they'll pay you 2-3 weeks later when they get paid. Yeah, there'll be a couple of days in between and stuff like that. But you're not messing with the money, the payroll. Some umbrella companies don't do payroll. They just provide the funds and then you can use an accountant, etc. That's how I usually do it. So it's totally up to you. I can't make any recommendations because I'm not partnered with any. I don't know any that is trustworthy enough to recommend, because I'm not heavily in the game in terms of temporary recruitment. So that's one thing. So if you are looking to start a temporary agency, you need an umbrella company. Now, you're also going to need insurance, and insurance is going to be something that you need to look at, and you must have it legally speaking. It's not something, oh, maybe I'll get it later on. You must have it. So employee liability insurance, you're going to need public indemnity insurance, I'd recommend. But if you talk to insurers that are recruitment specific, what they'll do is they'll tell you, look, what agency are you running? So you can call a few up, put it into Google, use a recruitment specific insurer, and they will be able to advise you accordingly. I'm running a high risk, I'm recruiting temporary doctors to perform brain surgery. Believe me, your premium is going to be much higher. Think of it like car insurance. The more expensive your car, faster it is, more modifications, the higher your insurance is going to be. If it's a very we're recruiting PAs to work from home, your insurance is going to be, I don't know, 120 a year or something ridiculous. And if you, in the heat of COVID, insurers were not even, they weren't actually giving out a lot of people, they weren't insuring people to run a healthcare agency. So it's a bit of a weird time. So it depends the risk. Construction, working on high-rise buildings, of course you get the point. It's going to be a bit more, but obviously get a few quotes and move on from there. So umbrella company, insurance you're going to need. Now the cost of insurance, you can spread it out monthly if you are not interested in using an interest. You can obviously make sure you pay yearly because some of them will charge interest as well on top of that. So you're better off just paying it like that. And you need insurance if your work is going out. Highly, you must have insurance. Yeah. And an umbrella company in place. If you have got one worker and you feel like, okay, I can just bankroll it myself, feel free to. It's totally up to you. Now, this brings me to the client acquisition and candidate acquisition, and also niches I'm going to cover. So if you've watched any of my permanent videos, I always talk about find the right niche. Don't recruit in IT, don't recruit in construction, don't recruit in healthcare for the low skilled entry level positions like care assistants, support workers. However, it's very different on the temporary market. Pretty much everything is fair game. Yeah. So if you said I want to start a permanent agency recruiting warehouse staff, I would say that's a really bad move. You ain't going to get your foot in the door in many places. No one's going to really pay. But on the temporary side, things change. Clients are always desperate. I'm literally convinced that every warehouse, every care home, and every IT company, in fact, pretty much every company out there, at one point has and probably in the future will use temporary agencies. And the demand for temporary agencies is much, 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 much higher now because people don't actually want to legally employ people because it's very hard to get rid of some people on a full-time permanent basis because the outlook, when the market looks wobbly, temporary recruitment, believe it or not, booms. If there's mass unemployment, people are saying, look, we still need to run the business, but we can't afford to, take the risk on employing people full time and getting rid of them, and then we're stuck with no workers. So we're going to take on a few temporary workers. There's always going to be a need for temporary recruitment, as much so as permanent. The simple reason is I go into work, I break my leg, I need my position covered. Yeah. The warehouse isn't going to run, the IT job isn't going to get done, the construction isn't going to get built. They're always going to be needed for that emergency position. Now, temporary recruitment is a lot faster paced. If you're slow, you want to do it, I wouldn't advise doing it part-time. I think it's more something where you need to be full-time. You can obviously do it part-time, but it's very much Sunday night, or our worker's not coming in on Monday, you need to find us someone, or someone hasn't shown up on Monday, we need someone in right now. So temporary recruitment is very much about getting ready. So how do you make it a success is going to be the question that most people would ask. What I'll do is I'll set everything up, get the insurance, get the umbrella company in place, find your market. Now your market is going to be wherever it is. Let's say we're recruiting nurses for care homes or private hospitals. Now, what we want to do is we want to get as much information and as much candidates registered with our agency before we actually go to market. You can approach a company on the permanent side and you can say, I can probably find you nurses permanently. Would you want to have a discussion? And they'll say, yeah, let's have a call, blah, blah, blah. With temporary, if you go to them and say, I can potentially find you some nurses temporary, they'll say, okay, great. Who have you got? There's an urgency of who can work tomorrow. So if you don't have the candidates ready, if you don't candidate pool, I've seen temporary desks where people set up, all they do is focus on candidates. They load up on candidates, they get them registered with the agency, compliance checks, which we need to talk about as well, and they get them all registered within the agency. And once you've got all their paperwork, documentation, rights to work, I mean, I can go into that afterwards as well. But in terms of your agency itself, or what am I trying to say? not the agency itself, the candidates being ready, fully registered. So I've got 20 workers in this local area ready to work. Now I approach companies and say, I have staff registered to work. You could probably say, look, they've just finished their last contract, if you're doing contract recruitment, and they're open to a new contract for 6 months. Would you be interested in using them? Now, you don't have to go. I would advise going to live vacancies first, but I would also just advise going to every local clinic nearby. So you're recruiting, I don't know, pharmacists. Contact every pharmacist in the country and say, we've got temporary staff available, registered, ready to work, all compliance checked, etc. If you ever need temporary cover, call us. You'll receive more inbound calls once your name's out there. Temporary recruitment is probably the only one that really gets inbound. I get quite a bit of inbound. Well, I was a few months back, it was a bit weird. I was getting a lot of inbound queries, but I've been established for a while. So going back to yourself, you put the feelers out there, and suddenly someone says, oh, we do need someone. That guy emailed me or called me last week and said he's got someone. Maybe he can cover a few shifts for us. That's how it works. So you get all the terms in place, etc. And there's a lot more to temporary recruitment. I mean, I'm trying to cover everything in this video, but let's talk about quickly compliance checks, and then we can talk about fees and payments, etc. And then wrap up this video that's going on for a while. So compliance checks, you're going to need like proof of identity, address, rights to work. Now, some niches, some job titles will require a bit more. So there's always going to be something around it. So you might need a certain qualification or registration proof, DBS checks, those things. So if you're recruiting teachers is a good one. Supply teachers, then it could be something that you can obviously look at. Now, with compliance checks, obviously do your own research, make sure you're adhering to GDPR. It's very important as well, because you'll have a lot of sensitive data as well. Don't just leave it printed offline around. So adhere to that, look up the rules. If anyone needs the rules emailed to them, I can email it, just drop me an email. And yeah, I think the last thing we're going to cover is payment. So we touched on it, how payment actually works, but you need a recruitment calculator, because what you don't want to do is you say, oh, the worker's getting paid £12, I'm getting £15 or £14. Oh, I'm making £2 profit an hour. That's really good. But when the costs come in, the national insurance, obviously you need to make profit, you need to pay yourself, you need to cover the insurance, everything else. What then happens is you're making, I don't know, 20p profit per hour, which is dire. So make sure your pricing is on point. There are online calculators online, so you can look them up. How much would a temporary worker get paid? I think there's one like Simplicity Business. They have a good free online calculator. You can look those up as well. But make sure your pricing is on point. Don't always try to be the most competitive, because if it's a high demand and an urgency on it, you can charge a premium. Oh, we need someone for the night shift tonight. Have you got anyone available? Sure, it's going to cost you X amount. You can obviously warrant that. If it's, well, we need 5 people on a long-term basis, take your time, find the people, then you can give a generous rate on that. But that's obviously your business decision. Just make sure you're not doing it for free, is the point I'm trying to make. So I hope you've enjoyed this messy, rambling video, as always, by me. All the best, take care, and good luck for your agency.